fine. We're good.
Okay. Lord, we thank you for this time together. God, we pray that what comes from our heart ministers to the hearts of your people. We ask that you would touch our conversation. And Lord, this is a critical, courageous conversation that we're going to have. We ask that it fall on good ground and touch the hearts of people. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
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 Amen. So, we're here. We're ready to talk about some things and be honest and just share from our hearts what we feel and what's going on. Who would like to go first? So I guess maybe we can tell people why we're doing this. We are having this conversation in the wake of all the racial tension and riots and things that have been going on in our nation, and how it's affected us as African Americans, biracial individuals, and just how we feel, what's going on inside of us. Some of us are not okay at this time. So we just wanted to take time to share what we feel and what's going on with us. And we have Michael, Thomas, Jennifer, Marsha, and me. I don't want to tell my experience first, but whoever wants to go first, feel free to just open up and share.
Well, I would say ladies first, but
Okay. Well, Jennifer, Marsha, you want to go first, or
I'll go. Just let me go. I'll go, and I need to speak as a biracial person. I grew up with a mother that's white, so like some of the things that even these three may talk about, I may not know. Like sit straight, don't lean in, don't look like you're reaching for something in the middle, like if there's a cop behind you. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I'm not taught that. I grew up with a white mom that just drives around the town and is free as she wants to be. My brother did date a white girl, and I know she told him, just be careful. Don't you go in the country at night, is what she told him. And as a white woman, to say that to your brown son, don't go into the country at night, she knew that much, that would not be good. Not in Indiana, not the home of the Ku Klux Klan, where it was founded, where the Grand Wizard was for all of the, when it first started. It started here. But on the other hand, you have to think, I did grow up with a white mother. So when, if it's Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all lives matter. I mean, it's like if I say, okay, Black Lives Matter, I'm like shunning my white mom and saying, oh yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to identify with her anymore, or she's not my mom anymore. It doesn't work like that. Or, you know what I mean? When Black people are killed for it seems like no reason, because a petty theft or whatever it is you're chasing somebody for is not worth their life. And so when I'm sticking up, or whatever, I'm with the Black people. So I'm identifying with the Black people, or do I identify with the white people? It's not that, because society sees me as Black. That's who I am. I'm Black. A little bit of Black, you're Black. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it is. And you feel kind of like you're in the middle, because you do identify with both sides. Like you just identify with Black people that are being tortured, and you do identify with the white people that are not racist, because sometimes my husband even has to remind me, Jennifer, all these white people are not your family, because I have a white family that loves me like dearly. They do. But I have to remember, all these people are not my family. So everybody is not going to feel as happy to see me, or as, because I am a Black woman. And it's something that we, people that are biracial, we think about. It's stuff that we have to, we kind of talk to each other about a little bit. I've got two of my clients that are biracial, and he texted me something that was wonderful. It's Joel. He said I could use his name. It's Joel, and he said that all lives matter. Not Black, not white, but everyone matters. We all bleed the same. We just on the outside look different, but that shouldn't matter. Every life matters. And
Joe.
that's that's really powerful for those of you that know Joel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's got that one just right. Every single life matters.
Mm-hmm.
Our people that, you know, have disabilities, their life matters. Everybody's life matters. And I know that right now we are focusing on Black people because you can't walk down the street without maybe dying for something stupid like jaywalking, and you didn't get down fast enough for the police to tell you, get down, get down, get down, or just jerk you all around and make it seem like you're not getting down and kill you for it. And I know that's why we're here. And I know that's why Black Lives Matter. And I do believe that. I identify with it because that's how everybody sees me too. But there is a part of me inside that, you know, I'm like Joel, everybody matters. Everybody matters.
So true.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. That took a lot to, you know, be honest like that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I can go next if you want me to, because mine is kind of similar to Jennifer's as far as, you know, just walking down the street and jaywalking and things. And if that's okay with you, Michael and Jeannie, I can go next.
That's fine with me.
Okay. I'm just going to speak from a mother's perspective of two Black males, young Black males at that. And I basically will never forget, you know, my first experience with racism as a mother, because that's just not something that I thought of, to be honest. I mean, I know I experienced it growing up, but when it hit my kids is when it really hit home for me of, you know, it all still exists. And I was forced to have a courageous conversation with my 8-year-old at the time in the car as soon as I was pulling out of the church parking lot. And I was born and raised in the church, and it basically served as an instrument of empowerment for me. So I wanted to share that with my boys. And unfortunately, in one moment, that changed for me and my family because my son became a victim of unconscious bias, unfortunately, from his peer because of the pigment of his skin. Again, going along with what we're seeing right now, I remember picking him up from children's church, and I greeted him and I seen a waterfall of tears coming down his face. I'm like, what in the world? It was just like a bowl of emotions for me because I'm a mom. You know, moms are protective of their kids. What's going on? I'm thinking something else happened. But come to find out, one of his peers told him that no Black people are allowed here in the church. And so that shocked me to my core. I mean, how can an 8-year-old learn this? It has to be from this unconscious bias that maybe is being taught in his home. And I never in my life would have thought that racism would strike my son, of all places, which is church. So, I mean, I tried my best to protect my sons from the crippling effects of racism because it hurts. I mean, I'm not going to lie, from looks that I receive, and it's just a disease. I just look at it as a disease, and I couldn't protect my son. And at that moment, I was forced to have that courageous conversation with an 8-year-old who had no idea, who's crying, emotions are all over the place, says, why aren't Black people allowed in church, Mom? He's crying because he's like, I thought this was a cool place to be, in which I still think it is, but racism affected him in that moment as a young black male, excuse me. So even up until this day, I mean, I'm still forced to continue to have these conversations with him because he's a runner, just like Ahmaud Arbery. So every time he steps outside my door, Lord, please bring him back safely. Is he going to get shot down like Ahmaud Arbery? And then my other youngest son, they like to walk around our neighborhood, just like Trayvon Martin. I mean, are they going to get shot just for walking innocently? So as a mother of 2 Black young males, it's been truly rewarding, but to be honest, it's frightening and petrifying. I can't even describe how I feel each day. It's just intimidating. I guess that's the best word I can say just to describe it, because each time my children step out of my doors of my home, I'm scared for them just because they are a black male in the pigment of their skin. And I never would have thought that this would have struck my children, but it has. So that was a courageous conversations that I'm continuing to have, especially in today's news with George Floyd, or Ahmaud Arbery, Trayvon Martin, all those things. My kids do the same things, and they have a target on their back, unfortunately. So I'm scared for them.
Thank you, Marsha, for sharing that. That's real. That is very real.
Very real.
The experience that I would like to share, I have a plethora of them, but I want to talk about the racism that I've experienced in schools as well as in employers, not at Hillcroft, just so you know, but I've experienced a lot of racism, and I'll just put it to you like this, and this is kind of comical, but then I'll get into the events. Remember when you figured out that the tooth fairy wasn't real? I figured out the tooth fairy wasn't real because I got a food stamp under my pillow one day. And I was like, dang, is this for real? I thought the tooth fairy had money. But I remember like, dang, I didn't know the tooth fairy was on welfare. I did not know it was on welfare. So, I mean, you know that low feeling when you figure out Santa Claus ain't real. That
yes.
Okay, so growing up, I grew up in school in Gary, Indiana, mostly black. You know, they didn't really teach us a whole lot, but I mean, they got us through. We got a diploma. So I went to college. I went to Ball State, and my dad has always told me that, you know, be careful. You know, white people don't like black people. Sometimes there are prejudiced white people, and I thought, okay, I know that he's telling me this, and I know to be on guard, but I don't really know what to expect. I just know what's out there. So the first time I got to Ball State, I took an English class, like my freshman year. We get there, the English teacher singles out all the black children from Gary and Indianapolis, and she makes the statement, I know you all don't know how to write, so I'm going to send you to the writing center so you can learn how to write. Experience number one. I thought, okay, well, maybe she's trying to be nice, but she singled us out in front of all these white students like we just dumb as a box of rocks. Okay, and maybe it felt a little bit okay because it was a group of us black kids that got sent off. It wasn't just me by myself. So it hurt, but it didn't feel like terrible. Second time at Ball State, I was taking an ed psych class. And because I knew I wasn't as smart as the white children, I tried to find some white kids that was semi-nice. And I would sit next to them and look and ask them to help me to learn how they was learning. So that way I could get good grades. Because I didn't want to flunk out of college. And all these girls, they was getting A's and B's on their papers. And I was getting A's and B's too. And I worked really hard in that class. And at the end of it, I was like getting a B, and this girl next to me, she white, and I've been not cheating, but looking at her stuff like, hey, we've been learning together. How am I getting a B and you're getting an A? Literally, I walked up to the professor, I'm not gonna say his name, and I said, well, she got an A, and I'm getting a B. He looked me square in my face and said, I do not give black women A's.
Oh, dang. Oh.
And it was going into the Christmas break. So I left stunned. Because what do you say back to a professor? I'm supposed to be respecting you and all this other stuff. And so I just walked out the room like, dang, racism is real. Like, you know how you get that smack in the face, like, dang,
yeah.
Real. So I walked out, and it was Christmas break, and I think I told somebody about it, and it was like, you need to report him. And I was like, how do I do that? What do I do? Went back, and he had retired over the Christmas break. So I never got to say anything. But those few experiences, coupled with just a lot of things that have happened in my life regarding my skin color, it made me feel like I would never measure up in an academic setting. Just a lot of struggles with my skin color. And if you try to talk properly, then you're talking white. or if you use your regular dialect, then you're ghetto, you're that girl.
Yeah.
Those things can really be damaging to your self-esteem and self-worth. Getting out of college, graduating, trying to find a job. Because my real name is Eugenia, sometimes I got looked over for jobs that I was probably really qualified for because of my name. It's not a Tiffany or Katie or Amy or whatever. So, it can be kind of difficult to navigate that type of stuff. Finally did get a job. I've had several jobs, but one job in particular that I'm thinking of, I was bullied as a Black woman, full grown, by people that were white in an employment situation. And it got so bad that I had to reach out to people higher than myself to get the situation rectified. And it ended up being that I had to leave this agency because I was bullied because of my skin color. And I know it was my skin color. This particular person asked me a question. I answered the question exactly the same way every single time because that was the facts of the matter. A white person answered and gave her the exact same answer. She accepted it, but then rejected what I said. Well, I told her, I just said that to you. Well, I just needed to hear someone else say it. So when you talk to me about racism, it hurts me very deeply, and I know that it still exists. It exists in our places, unconsciously sometimes, the way we look at people, the way we view things. And for me, it affects the way I see myself. And I'm learning that my identity comes from God, not my skin color. But it definitely hurts. And sometimes it makes me feel insecure. When you're the only Black person in a meeting and you're asked to speak up, you have to kind of remember how to speak appropriately. You have to remember to enunciate your words correctly. There's just a lot of insecurity and low self-esteem that can come along with being the target of racism. And I've experienced quite a bit of it, but I'm just learning that, I measure up because of God. But sometimes it's hard. You can walk in places and just feel like that you don't fit in, or you're going to be judged based on your skin color, or you're going to be judged on where you come from. People have judged me on where I come from a lot. Or even just here, somebody said to me, I called somebody out to do something for me, and he didn't know I was Black because I had on my white people voice. And when he came to my door, he was like, "Don't shoot." I'm not going to shoot you. Oh, really? Literally, those were his first words. There wasn't no "Hello, Mrs. Rollins, how are you?" Whatever. First thing he said out his mouth, "Don't shoot." So it's just, I've experienced enough of it, and I try to, remember that all white people aren't bad. But there is a part of me that struggles with my own self-worth when I'm in a room with white people. I'm just being really honest. Do I measure up? Do you tolerate me, or do you really accept me?
Yeah.
That's been a little bit of my experience. I could say more, but we're going to give it to Michael now.
Yeah. Well, thank you. When you asked me to do this, I put a lot of thought in what I wanted to say. And I don't want to start back with, my 73 years of experience. So I want to start in a place where I had a client when I was young, much younger, a little white girl, about 21, 22 years old. She had been referred to me by the courts. So, when you are doing therapy on somebody who's not there willingly, they're kind of angry. She's an angry little girl. And she came up to me and sat in my office and looked me dead in the eye and said, I'm white, I'm free, and I'm over 21. And I can do any damn thing I want. And I looked at her, I said, okay, so doing, in my therapist's voice, so doing what you want got you to see me. Yay, this is great. And when I was processing it after the session, I was processing it afterwards. I'm like, what did she say? Free, white, and 21. And I'm sure that she had no idea what that meant. Because I took it as, I'm black, I'm free, I'm over 21, and I can't do anything that I want. There's limitations put on me on this world around me, on what I can do, who I can be, what I can become. And I don't have that luxury. And that was many years ago, and it stuck with me all this time on, free, I'm white, I'm over 21. And she didn't know what it meant. I'm sure today, if I ran into her on the street, she could not tell me what that meant. And I think there's a lot of white people, and that's really what I'm thankful now, because there's been an awakening that we look at all the marches going on, and the marches are predominantly white, black and white together. And I think that's where it needed to be a long time ago. Certainly not 50 years later after Martin Luther was doing a march. There's a lot of white people out there who don't know what white privilege is. The fact that they can do anything that they want to do. They can become anyone they want to. They can walk in and get a job not based on anything else but the way they look. We are sized up. When we walk through a door of an employer and go into that interview, when we're sized up and we're put in a category of educated, uneducated, trained, untrained, and there are limitations there about put on those categories, about what the employer wants from us, expects from us, and we can't get by those predetermined conditions. There's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. Most white people don't understand how they feel until they are confronted with it. I remember when BJ and I got married. When my wife and I got married, my wife is white, and she got married. It was down in Louisville, Indiana. I met her parents up here at Ball State, but I never met her father's father, so her grandparent or paternal grandparent, because they totally shut down. They did not want to meet me. They did not want to see me. They did not want to even know it. And I think all the hassle my father-in-law went through because of the racism that his dad had. Now, my father-in-law he's not racist. BJ's parents have been welcoming, understanding, loving, everything I would ever want in a father and mother-in-law. But knowing what he had to do, and I actually wrote him a letter some years after we were married, and thanking him for me knowing what he went through, and for him to still open his door to me. I thank him for that. And we're good friends. But I look at other white people who haven't opened that door to understand where they're coming from, and understanding that there is a difference. They make a difference subconsciously, not understanding that there is no difference between black, white, red, yellow, blue, green, but they make judgments based on skin color, because that's the way they've been brought up. Their whole life is white people are here, other people of other colors are over there. The white people have this superiority. And when I think about it, I thought about it, I said, this is the same thing Adolf Hitler did in World War II, that he talked about the supremacy of the white race. That resonates with a lot of people here in this country. They think that they're superior, that they are born superior, that they're always going to be superior. You look at I always I try to tell people, I say, look, you got to read some books about the Civil War that aren't biased, that tells the truth, that most of the people in the South were poor white folks. it was just the minority that was the aristocrats, the slave owners that had money. And these slave owners got these poor white folks to fight in a war that they had nothing. There was nothing in it for them. They weren't going to get a piece of ground. They weren't going to get any money. They weren't going to get anything. But they got convinced that because of who they are, the North, the invaders from the North, and we're going to defend our land. And it wasn't their land, but they got convinced of that fact, and that whole same thought exists today. That there's groups of white folks who believe that the mighty South will rise again. Well, no, it's not. And they had this fantasy about the South, having not read a book about the real South, having not read a book about how they were used as cannon fodder for the rich folks. And the same thing happened in the North. They did the same thing. The Civil War was all about money. But you can't tell the people that because the information on it is very limited. But more currently, we look at the sense of white privilege, how to teach, how to reach people who haven't opened that door of knowledge. And I think with all these marches that's been going on, I think people, especially white people, are starting to take a look at what is it that I actually believe, what is it that I actually feel. And I'm really galvanized by the marches. I look at them and see them and say, I can't march anymore because I'm old and my body hurts. But I am galvanized by seeing all these massive people, not in all these cities and actually around the world, who are marching for us. Black Lives Matter. Yes, we all should. Should there be any what do you call it today? Legal lynchings that's still going on, that have gone on since after the Civil War, since the Reconstruction. We look at almost 7,000 black men and women have been lynched since the Civil War, and it didn't really stop until I think the last one was in Marion in '56, as I recall. And it's like, what took it so long before people started to recognize that this is wrong? This is wrong. We can't go around lynching people. But when they get frustrated, they wanted to let's string them up because it look wrong. I think Emmett Till was reported 54 or so, 55, and look at how badly he was beaten up, the anger that had to be there for someone to want to do that to another human being. It exists. We are, and I think what we can do now is look toward educating our white friends. Not saying that all of them are racist, but I think all of them are not aware of their truth because they haven't opened that door again about what it is I feel, what it is I believe, what it is I think. And we have to do that in order to get equal. It's not up to, we don't have to do anything as black people. We have to change the minds of the white people around us. I have many white friends, and that's good friends, solid friends that I know how they feel, how they think. But other than that, we need to open up generally to the public so people will know or start to think about what it is they think, they feel. I was thinking about what the probably the most hurtful thing that ever happened to me is I had a job up at Fort Wayne. I was working there. I worked there for 8 years. In the last 2 years of that, I was groomed to take over the CEO position. And my boss was going to retire, and this new company came in, and they wanted, I'm going to say the name of the company, but I don't wish them evil, but yes, I do. And they came in, and they decided that they weren't going to hire me. They hired a man who knew absolutely nothing about business, absolutely nothing. He came to me and said, you got to teach me what it is I need to know. And I looked at him like I'm going to do that. I said, you decided you want the job, you do the job. Don't ask me for a thing, because I was an angry black man. I lasted about 6 months after that, and then I quit with no job prospects at all. It's like, I'm going to jump into this lake lake of fire, but I couldn't stay there anymore. I was too angry. I hated to go to work. I hated to be there, and I wasn't doing my job, and I wasn't doing the company, my friends in the company, any good either. So I had to leave. But that's probably the most hurtful thing that ever happened to me. And I look at something that Michael Jackson wrote way back in '88 or so, "Man in the Mirror." I love that song because that speaks to what we all need to be doing. If we want to make the world a better place, we got to take a look at ourselves and make a change. And that's what I want to see it happen.